What if I told you the person you cannot stop thinking about may actually love you, but the force keeping you apart has almost nothing to do with either of you? The truth is so unexpected that once you see it, you'll never look at love the same way again. By the end of this video, you'll discover why genuine feelings can exist alongside painful distance, why silence sometimes hides the strongest emotions, and the invisible psychological force that quietly controls both hearts without either person realizing it. If this message is helping you understand your own experiences in a new way, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Every week we explore the hidden patterns of the human mind, emotional transformation, relationships, and personal growth. Your support helps this community continue exploring the deeper truths that so many people silently experience but rarely discuss. The connection you feel with another person is not always created by conversations, constant messages, or physical closeness. Some of the strongest emotional bonds exist quietly beneath the surface, where words are no longer necessary. You may wake up thinking about someone you have not spoken to in months, or suddenly remember them without any obvious reason. Most people dismiss these moments as coincidence, but they often reveal that relationships extend far beyond what can be seen. There are connections that continue to exist in the hidden layers of the mind, where memories, emotions, and unspoken experiences remain alive long after two people have gone their separate ways. What appears to be distance on the outside may hide an invisible closeness that neither person fully understands. This is why physical separation should never be mistaken for emotional absence. Two people may live in different cities, stop communicating completely, or even convince themselves that they have moved on, yet something inside refuses to let go. The mind has a remarkable ability to preserve emotional experiences that were never fully understood or completed. Every meaningful interaction leaves an impression, and those impressions continue influencing thoughts, dreams, and emotions without asking for permission. While the conscious mind tries to focus on daily life, the deeper parts of the psyche quietly keep unfinished emotional stories alive. That is why someone can disappear from your life, but never truly disappear from your inner world. Many people assume that if someone truly loved them, they would always stay close, always call, and always find a way to bridge the distance. But human beings are far more complicated than that. Love exists alongside fear, pride, insecurity, past wounds, and unconscious habits. A person may care deeply while simultaneously believing they are protecting themselves by remaining silent. Another may long for reunion but feel trapped by doubt, shame, or the fear of rejection. What appears as indifference from the outside may actually be an internal conflict that has never found the courage to reveal itself. The heart can move toward someone while the mind pulls in the opposite direction, creating a painful distance that neither person intended. Perhaps the most surprising truth is that silence itself can become a form of communication. During periods when nothing is spoken, both individuals often continue changing internally. Memories gain new meaning, painful experiences slowly transform into wisdom, and emotions that once felt overwhelming begin to settle into clarity. Sometimes distance becomes the space where both people unknowingly prepare for a future they cannot yet see. Other times it serves as a mirror, forcing each person to confront parts of themselves they ignored while the relationship was active. The absence of conversation does not always mean the absence of emotional movement. Some of life's greatest transformations happen quietly, beyond the reach of ordinary observation. So before you conclude that the person occupying your thoughts has forgotten you, consider another possibility. The invisible bond between two people is rarely measured by time, geography, or the number of messages exchanged. It is measured by the lasting psychological imprint they leave upon one another. Some connections fade because they were built on temporary attraction. Others endure because they awaken something profound within the human soul that refuses to disappear. The real question is not whether the connection still exists, but whether both people are becoming aware of the hidden forces shaping it. Only when those unseen patterns are recognized can the mystery of distance finally begin to make sense. Many people believe that distance begins with a lack of love. They assume that if two people truly cared for one another, nothing could keep them apart. But this belief overlooks one of the deepest truths about human nature. Love is often not the force that separates people. Fear is. Hidden beneath calm words, quiet silence, or unexpected withdrawal are emotions that rarely reveal themselves openly. A person may feel deeply connected to someone while simultaneously being terrified of what that connection demands. The closer the relationship becomes, the more it awakens old wounds, forgotten disappointments, and unconscious fears that have been waiting beneath the surface for years. What appears to be rejection is often a quiet battle taking place entirely within the mind. One of the strongest invisible forces is the fear of vulnerability. To truly love someone means allowing them to see parts of you that are imperfect, uncertain, and deeply human. For many people, this feels far more dangerous than being alone. They have learned through painful experiences that opening their heart can lead to betrayal, disappointment, or abandonment. Instead of risking those emotions again, they unconsciously create distance before anyone else has the chance to hurt them. Ironically, they may walk away from the very person they love most, believing that emotional safety is more important than emotional fulfillment. From the outside, this behavior appears confusing. From the inside, it feels like survival. Another hidden force is the fear of not being enough. A person may secretly believe they are incapable of giving the love, stability, or future someone else deserves. Rather than expressing this insecurity, they hide behind silence, excuses, or emotional withdrawal. They convince themselves that leaving is an act of kindness, when in reality, it is an escape from their own feelings of inadequacy. This quiet belief can become so powerful that they begin to distance themselves even while their heart continues pulling them back toward the relationship. Love remains alive, but self-doubt slowly becomes louder than affection. The tragedy is that the other person often interprets this withdrawal as a lack of care, never realizing that insecurity was speaking far more loudly than love ever could. There is also the fear of losing control. Genuine emotional intimacy changes people. It asks them to surrender certainty, abandon emotional defenses, and trust another person with parts of themselves they have carefully protected for years. For individuals who have built their identity around independence or emotional control, this can feel overwhelming. They may begin creating unnecessary conflict, delaying important conversations, or disappearing without explanation, not because they want the relationship to end, but because they fear what they are becoming inside it. The heart moves toward connection, while the unconscious mind fights to preserve familiar patterns. This inner conflict creates a painful cycle where both people suffer without fully understanding why. When you begin to recognize these hidden fears, the story of your relationship changes completely. You stop seeing distance as proof that love never existed and begin understanding it as evidence of unresolved inner struggles. This does not mean every silent person is secretly in love, nor does it mean every relationship is destined to reunite. It simply reveals that human behavior is often guided by unconscious fears far more than conscious intentions. Sometimes the greatest obstacle between two people is not the absence of love, but the invisible emotional walls each person carries within themselves. Until those walls are recognized and faced, even the strongest feelings may remain trapped behind silence, leaving both hearts wondering what could have been. Love is one of the most powerful emotions a human being can experience. Yet it is often misunderstood as a force that can overcome every obstacle on its own. People grow up believing that if two individuals truly love each other, every problem will eventually disappear. But reality tells a different story. Love can bring two hearts together, yet it cannot instantly erase years of emotional conditioning, painful memories, or deeply rooted psychological defenses. Many relationships fail not because love was absent, but because the invisible burdens carried by each person became heavier than the connection they shared. This is one of the most difficult truths to accept. Genuine love and painful distance can exist at the same time. Every person enters a relationship carrying an unseen emotional history. Childhood experiences, broken trust, family conflicts, past heartbreaks, and moments of rejection quietly shape the way they respond to intimacy. These experiences become invisible walls that the conscious mind rarely notices. A person may sincerely want to love openly, yet instinctively pull away the moment the relationship begins to feel too meaningful. Another may crave closeness while constantly expecting abandonment, causing them to overthink every silence or misunderstanding. These patterns are not acts of choice in the ordinary sense. They are unconscious responses formed long before the current relationship ever began. Without recognizing them, both people can become trapped in cycles they never intended to create. Pride is another hidden barrier that love alone cannot dissolve. Sometimes two people spend months or even years waiting for the other to make the first move. Both miss each other, both replay old memories, and both secretly hope for reconciliation, yet neither reaches out. Pride whispers that showing vulnerability is weakness. It convinces people that protecting their ego is safer than risking rejection. In this silent battle, love becomes imprisoned behind fear and stubbornness. What could have been healed through one honest conversation slowly fades beneath layers of hesitation, misunderstanding, and emotional distance. The tragedy is not that love disappeared, but that pride refused to let it speak. Unresolved guilt can also become an invisible prison. A person who believes they have caused pain may begin avoiding the very individual they still care about. Instead of seeking forgiveness, they convince themselves they no longer deserve the relationship. Others carry shame about mistakes, failures, or personal struggles that make them feel unworthy of being loved. Rather than revealing these feelings, they retreat into silence, hoping distance will protect both people from further hurt. To the outside world, it appears they have moved on, yet internally, they continue fighting battles that no one else can see. Love remains alive, but guilt convinces them they must carry it alone. This is why understanding the human mind is just as important as understanding the human heart. Love creates the possibility of connection, but lasting relationships require self-awareness, emotional healing, honesty, and the courage to face hidden fears. Without that inner work, the same unresolved wounds continue shaping every relationship, no matter how genuine the feelings may be. The shocking truth is that love is rarely the missing piece. More often, what is missing is the willingness to confront the invisible walls built by past experiences. When those walls begin to fall, love no longer struggles to survive. It finally has the freedom to grow into the connection it was always meant to become. The person who occupies your thoughts may seem like the center of your emotional world, but often they are also a mirror reflecting something much deeper within you. We tend to believe that our strongest emotions are caused entirely by another person, yet the mind rarely works that way. Certain individuals awaken hidden parts of ourselves that had been silent for years. They stir forgotten hopes, unresolved pain, buried insecurities, and even strengths we never realized we possessed. This is why one person can leave such a profound impact, while countless others pass through our lives without changing us at all. The intensity of the connection often reveals as much about your inner world as it does about the relationship itself. Have you ever wondered why you cannot stop thinking about someone, even when logic tells you to move on? It is because the mind is not always searching for the person. It is searching for the meaning attached to them. That individual may represent safety, acceptance, adventure, unfinished dreams, or the version of yourself that only seemed possible when they were present. Every time their memory returns, it is not simply reminding you of who they are. It is inviting you to explore what they awakened inside you. The emotions you experience are clues pointing toward deeper truths about your own identity, your unmet needs, and your hidden desires. This explains why two people can experience the same relationship in completely different ways. One sees it as a painful ending, while the other sees it as a life-changing lesson. The external events may be identical, but the internal meaning is unique to each individual. Your inner beliefs, emotional history, and unconscious expectations shape how every experience is interpreted. If you secretly fear abandonment, distance may feel like proof that you are unworthy of love. If you believe love must be earned through struggle, you may unconsciously become attached to relationships that are difficult to maintain. Without realizing it, your inner world quietly influences the relationships you create, the people you choose, and the emotions you continue to relive. This is why blaming only the other person rarely leads to lasting understanding. It is easy to believe they caused all the pain, yet every meaningful relationship also reveals something hidden within ourselves. Perhaps they exposed a fear you had ignored for years. Perhaps they awakened confidence you never knew existed. Perhaps they forced you to confront loneliness, dependence, forgiveness, or self-worth in ways no one else ever had. These discoveries are uncomfortable, but they are also valuable. Every emotionally significant relationship becomes an opportunity to understand yourself more deeply. The people who affect us most are often the ones who unknowingly guide us toward parts of ourselves we have yet to fully understand. The greatest transformation begins when you stop asking only, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "What is this experience trying to reveal about me?" That simple shift changes everything. Instead of seeing yourself as someone waiting for another person's choices to determine your happiness, you begin exploring the hidden patterns shaping your emotional life. As your self-awareness grows, your relationships begin to change as well. You no longer chase validation to fill an empty space within you, because you understand that lasting connection starts with inner clarity. Ironically, the more you understand your own mind, the less confusing other people's actions become. The person in your thoughts may still matter deeply, but their greatest gift may be showing you the path back to yourself. Silence has a way of frightening us, because it leaves room for the imagination to create stories that may not be true. When someone stops calling, replying, or showing up in the way they once did, the mind immediately searches for an explanation. It often reaches the most painful conclusion first. They no longer care. Yet silence is not always the language of indifference. Sometimes it is the language of confusion, emotional conflict, healing, or inner transformation. Human beings often retreat into quiet moments, not because their feelings have disappeared, but because they are struggling to understand them. What looks like an ending from the outside may actually be a period of invisible change taking place beneath the surface. There are seasons in life when growth happens away from the eyes of others. Just as a seed develops underground long before it breaks through the soil, the human mind often transforms in complete silence. A person who once reacted with fear may slowly begin confronting their emotions. Someone overwhelmed by guilt may gradually find the courage to forgive themselves. Another who once depended on constant reassurance may quietly learn self-confidence through solitude. These changes rarely happen overnight, and they almost never happen publicly. While nothing seems to be changing externally, profound emotional shifts may be taking place internally, preparing someone for a future version of themselves they could not have become without distance. Distance also has a remarkable ability to reveal what constant closeness often hides. When two people are together every day, they can easily mistake habit for love or comfort for true connection. But when silence enters the relationship, the heart is forced to answer difficult questions. Who do you still think about when there is no obligation to do so? Whose absence continues to leave an empty space that time cannot easily fill? What emotions remain after the excitement fades and only memory is left? These questions cannot be answered through conversation alone. They are answered in solitude, where the mind is no longer distracted by daily routines and begins confronting what truly matters. At the same time, silence can become a mirror that reflects the patterns each person has been avoiding. One individual may discover they were chasing validation instead of genuine love. Another may realize they were afraid of intimacy and used emotional distance as protection. Someone else may finally understand that they had been sacrificing their own identity to keep a relationship alive. These realizations are often uncomfortable, but they are necessary. Without moments of separation, many people would never recognize the unconscious habits that quietly shaped their relationships from the beginning. Silence, though painful, can become one of life's greatest teachers, because it forces us to listen to thoughts and emotions that constant noise keeps hidden. This is why silence should never be interpreted too quickly. It is not always a sign that love has ended, nor is it a guarantee that love still exists. Instead, it is often a space where truth slowly reveals itself. Some people emerge from that silence with greater clarity, stronger emotional maturity, and the courage to reconnect. Others discover that the distance was leading them toward a different path entirely. Either outcome carries value because both are forms of growth. The real purpose of silence is not simply to separate two people. It is to uncover what could never be seen while they were standing too close. And sometimes, the quietest chapters of life become the ones that transform us the most. The greatest surprise about emotional distance is that the real obstacle is often invisible. Most people spend months, even years, searching for external explanations. They blame bad timing, long distances, misunderstandings, other people, or simple bad luck. While these factors can certainly influence a relationship, they are rarely the deepest cause. Beneath every repeated pattern lies something far more powerful: the unconscious habits and beliefs that quietly guide human behavior. These hidden patterns operate without announcing themselves, shaping choices, reactions, and emotions before the conscious mind even realizes what is happening. Until they are recognized, two people can continue repeating the same painful story, even if the names and circumstances change. One person may unconsciously choose emotionally unavailable partners because they learned early in life that love must always be chased. Another may withdraw whenever a relationship becomes serious because closeness awakens an old fear of rejection or loss. Someone else may constantly seek reassurance, believing they must earn affection instead of simply receiving it. These behaviors often feel natural because they have been repeated for years, yet they quietly sabotage the very relationships people long to protect. The tragedy is that individuals usually blame the outcome rather than questioning the hidden patterns that created it. They believe fate is working against them, when in reality, their unconscious mind is repeating familiar emotional cycles. This is why the same emotional experiences often appear in different relationships. The faces change, the conversations change, and the circumstances change. But the emotional ending somehow feels strangely familiar. The feeling of being misunderstood, abandoned, unappreciated, or emotionally distant keeps returning. It is tempting to believe that everyone else is the problem, but recurring patterns usually point toward something unresolved within ourselves. Until those inner conflicts are understood, the mind naturally recreates situations that feel emotionally familiar, even when they lead to disappointment. What seems like bad luck is often a lesson that has not yet been fully learned. Recognizing these hidden cycles is one of the most transformative moments a person can experience. Instead of asking, "Why does this always happen to me?" a new question begins to emerge. What part of me keeps creating this experience? That question shifts the focus from blame to awareness. It encourages honest self-reflection rather than endless frustration. As people begin noticing their fears, assumptions, emotional habits, and automatic reactions, they gain the ability to respond differently. The unconscious gradually becomes conscious, and with that awareness comes freedom. The patterns that once controlled their relationships begin losing their power because they are finally being seen for what they truly are. Perhaps this is the shocking truth behind the distance you have been trying to understand. The person in your mind may indeed care about you, and your feelings for them may be entirely genuine. But the greatest force standing between two hearts is often not a lack of love. It is the invisible emotional programming both people carry within themselves. Until those hidden patterns are confronted, love alone may struggle to bridge the gap. Yet the moment awareness replaces unconscious repetition, everything begins to change. Whether the path leads back to that person or toward a new chapter in life, you are no longer trapped by invisible forces. You become someone who understands not only the mystery of the relationship, but also the deeper mystery of your own mind. That understanding is where true freedom begins, and it is often the first real step toward the kind of love that no longer has to fight against unseen barriers.